Hey guys, how's it going? It's Dylan again and welcome back to my channel. So today I want to focus on coding and adding some more value to the Unity3d minimalistic UI. I want to modify the script in a way that we can do an animation going in and also an animation going out, meaning that we could do a fade in on our way in and a move out on the way out. So let's go into Unity and start working on it. Today I'm going to continue adding more functionality to the Unity minimalistic UI. And if you remember from last episode, what we did is we added a way to moving the UI. So let me show you how we did it. We actually just click on the settings button and then a window comes up. And we also can change the duration and then basically the vector 3 coordinates. So if I change it to 0.1, I can see it showing up pretty fast. And if I also wanted to change it to a fade, I can also do that. So if I hit play and I click on the settings, you can see that it's actually fading in and fading out. So the next thing that I want to do today is I want to expand this, and instead of just having one animation type, I want to have basically an in animation, where we can determine if we want to move, if we want to fade, and also a now animation, which basically is going to be the same, but it's going to be on the way out. So let's go into Visual Studio Code and let's make some changes. So I'm going to open the UI component, and I'm going to start with determining some of the properties that we're going to need to duplicate. And one, it's going to be the animation type. So I'm going to duplicate that, and we're going to rename this one to animation type in, and then we'll do the same thing with the actual property. Perfect. And we'll just copy paste, and then the same thing with the animation type out. We'll call this one animation out. Perfect. So the other thing that I'm going to do, this is going to get really busy, so I'm going to add regions. So these are going to be animations, and we'll do the same thing here. So we'll call it animation, actually animation types, because that's what they are. And on the one below, the fade, I'm going to create another region, and this is going to be fade animations, and we'll do an end region at the end. So I'm going to start with doing just the fade, and then we can test out how the move is going to look like. So I'm going to duplicate the ones for fade as well. So we'll call this one fade in duration, and then just copy and paste those values into the property. And then we'll do the same thing with fade out duration. Excellent. And I'm thinking whether we want to do the move or not. So let's actually move the fade value. I'm going to move that one to the top of the fade animations so that we have everything organized. Then also the animation type enum, I'm going to move up right where we're doing the enums, the animation types. Then the other thing that I'm going to do is we have some general variables in here. Well, actually the move, it's going to stay with the move. And we can create another region for this piece. We can say move animations, and we can close the region right here. And then these two that are more general type variables, I'm going to move all the way to the top right after my start hidden, and we have our property there. So we can just call this one general variables, or you can give it any other type of comment that designate what these are. So general variable works for me, and we can simply collapse that and Excellent. So the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to move into the actual editor. So if we go to our editor, and we're going to have some errors because we just renamed some of these properties. So this one is going to be animation in, animation in, animation in, and animation in. So the goal is I want to allow people to select the animation coming in and the animation coming out. So what I'm going to do is on some of these ones, I'm going to rename them to say this one is going to be in animation type. This one is going to be the fading duration. This one is going to be moving duration, moving from, move to, and then fading duration, and also fading duration in here. Perfect. And I think everything there looks good. Perfect. Let's go into Unity and see what we have so far. Looks like we still have an error. Let's go into and fix that error. Oh, and we also need to fix it in the window. So we'll do animation in, and then also animation in here. Actually, this one is animation out, and this one is animation out. Perfect. And those are great. Let's go back into Unity and fade. Okay, we'll still have in the UI component, of course, in the fade in, we're gonna need to rename that to fade in duration, and on the fade out, we're gonna have to rename that one to the fade out duration, and everything else should stay the same. Perfect. Okay, let's go now into Unity and see if we have any errors. Perfect. So now we have, if we look at the inspector, we have in animation type, and if I hit fade, you can see fading duration. If I hit movement, we have the moving duration and all those properties. So let's go back into Visual Studio Code. I'm gonna go back into the component, and we also need, this one is serializable, and we have a property to expose it, but we haven't added it to the editor. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna duplicate all of these from the if statement down, and I'm also gonna add a comment here, and we can say this is for animation in, and then we'll do the same thing with on the animation out. So I'll just copy everything, and for animation out, and we'll just rename everything here to move to out, and we'll do out here as well. Out. Perfect. Then we need to change the variables. So it's gonna be animation out. This one is gonna be fade out duration, fade out duration, and it looks like we still have to add that property. We'll fix it in a minute. So this one is animation out, and move out, and I'm just gonna copy the out and move out from, and then move out to. And let's go back into, so I think everything is good here. Let's go back into the UI component, and we need to add a couple of more properties. So we have animation type, animation in, and we on the fade, we haven't added the other one, so we have fade duration, so we'll need, oh, I see what we did. We actually never renamed this. So fade out duration, and all of that looks good. So that fixed this one, so we'll need to duplicate the move properties. If we go down to move, what I'm gonna do, we are gonna need all of these ones to be 2. So move duration is gonna change to move to duration. Sorry, move out duration. This one is gonna be also, so we'll need move out duration. Looks like a rename didn't work there. So let's just rename it. Perfect. And then the same thing with the move from. This one's gonna be move out from. This one is gonna be move from, and this two as well. Same thing with move to, so it's gonna be move out to, and then move out to. Also these ones. Perfect. Excellent. And we'll still have that. So in reality what I needed to do is duplicate them. So let's now duplicate them. Perfect. And we can simply, now that we know which ones we need to replace, can simply do a find and replace. So I'm just gonna search for the word out, and I'm gonna replace it with in. We can see that it's only, I only want to replace the ones that are selected. So let's just do selection. Or we can do it just this way. So we can say replace that one, and it hasn't. That's fine. Let's just do it manually then. Move in from, and this one's gonna be move in. So basically what I'm doing is adding properties so that we can track the moving in and then moving out. So it's gonna be all the different properties that we had in fields that we had before. We're just duplicating them. Then this one is gonna be move in and moving to, and this one as well. So let me just double check everything. So we have moving duration, the field, and also the property. Also the moving from, the field and the property, and then moving to, field and the property. Okay, and then all of our move outs. Okay, excellent. So that all looks great. So the other thing that I want to do is actually change this. Instead of passing in a property, I'm going to create a completely new method for the moving in and moving out. So I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to call this one move in, and I'm going to call this one move out. Perfect. And the other thing that I'm going to do is, of course, we need to replace some of these variables. And this one's going to be move out, this one's going to be move in. And we're not going to need to do a check here. So let's rename that. And the other thing that I need to do is, if we go actually do it here as well. And we need to change this from move from to moving from to moving to, and we don't need to do a ternary check anymore. This one is going to be moving to, and we should only have things that are moving type things. So moving, then we have the moving duration, and then we're telling the system that we're going to lerp the vector tree from the moving from position into the moving to. So that all looks great. Then on the move out, we're gonna do something similar. We're gonna start from the move out from, and then up to the move out to. And we don't need to do a ternary check anymore. And we're gonna do a move out to there. Perfect. Then we're gonna need to modify the color of this method. So if we go back into our window, and instead of doing a move method, we're gonna just do the move out on the close and the moving on the open. Perfect. So we have move out and we have ins. Okay, so that all looks great. So now let's go into our window editor. We still have a few more issues to fix. So because we renamed this one to move in duration, we need to call it moving duration there. And then moving from, moving to. We'll also do the same thing with these two. Perfect. So we have our animations going in, which is going to be all of these ones. And we have our animations going out. Excellent. So let's go in and check a couple more things in Unity. Just make sure that we don't have any errors. We still have one error. Let's fix that. And this is going to be, looks like I missed one. Move out duration. I'm going to clear the error log. And we can see what happens if I hit play. Perfect. And for some reason I'm still not seeing the variable. Let's go back into Visual Studio Code and look at the UI component. Make sure that I added a variable for that. So I'm looking for my enum. Okay, I see where my enum is. So I have my enum here. Okay, so it looks like I added it, but I didn't probably add it to the as an enum. Oh, okay, I see what's happening. So I added it here. So this actually needs to be duplicated as well. So it's going to be inside of the comment. So this is in animation, and then on the way out, we're going to do out, and we'll use the same enum that we had. It's going to be out, and this is going to be out as well. Excellent. So let's go back into, I'm going to go back into Unity and check a couple of more things. So now you can see that the property is actually showing up. So we can see we have in type animations, and if I click on the out animation type, I can also select those ones independently, and they have their own set of variables. So all of that is working great. So the other thing that we need to do is we're going to need to make some changes to the actual window. And let me go and check a couple more things. So if we go into our window, we're going to need to do, let me check. It's actually going to be on the UI component that we'll need to do some modifications. So if we go down to the move in and move out, that it's all fine. We'll need to add another method. So the next thing that we need to do is add a private void reset method. This method is going to help us in resetting values that we need to reset after we have moved out. So the reason why I want to do this is because if we say we have a window right in this area and we transition to the left, so if I want to do a fade right after that, let's say that I change the enum value, I want the window to basically to start at the original position. So to do that, we're going to have to create a new method to reset those values. And I'm also going to have to create a new variable to store the original position. So I'm going to do private, and it's going to be vector3, and we'll call it anchor position 3d. And we can initialize it to vector3 0. Then in the initialize, we're going to save the original position, which is going to be the anchor position on the rect transform. So we'll do anchor position 3D equal rect transform anchor position. Perfect. So let's go back into the reset, and I'm gonna do rect transform just to reset it, anchor position 3D, and we have our variable where we are storing that value. And let me make sure that I name it correctly. And I did name it correctly. So let's just set it. Perfect. And then the other thing that I want to do is the canvas group. I also want to make sure that it starts at 0. The fade value, I'm going to reset it to 0. And the move value, I'm also going to set it to 0. So basically setting every value to 0. So this is actually a vector3, so we'll do vector3 0. Perfect. And then this is only going to be needed in the move out. So we're just going to call that reset right here. Perfect. So we have move out. When we finish moving out, we're going to reset some of the window and movement properties and the alpha as well. So all of that looks good. The other thing that I need to do here is I need to set the fade value equal to 0. And on the fade out, I'm also going to do the same thing, but I'm going to start at 1. Perfect. And all that looks good. A lot of these things is because I need to transition from one animation type to another. So if I am transitioning from a move, I want to make sure that I'm starting the fade at 0 And then the same thing with the fade out. I want to make sure that I'm starting the fade value at 1. Then on the move out, I'm resetting all the properties. So if I want to do a fade in right after that, let's say that I toggle on the settings button again, I want to make sure that I'm able to do a new transition. So all of this looks good, and let's move this to my general variables, and we'll put it right at the end. Perfect. And now let's go back into Unity, make sure that we don't have any errors. And what I'm gonna do to test it is the in animation, I want it to be, we can actually do a fade, and then the out animation we can do an out. So the out duration I'm gonna do 0.5, and I want to move from negative y of negative 800, and we want to keep the same position on y, but I want to go off the screen, so we can do negative 1000. So this looks fine. Let's make sure. Okay, let's just hit play. And what I'm going to do is just click to fade in, and then X to fade out. Fade in and fade out. So what if we wanted to do a different transition on the way in? So what if we wanted to do a movement, and that could be also 0.5. Let's actually make it a little faster, 0.3. And what if I wanted to go from, let's say I wanted to go from negative 1000 at negative 800. I want to go all the way to 0, but I also want to keep the negative 800. So if we click on the settings button, you can see that that animation is going, it's working. I can do my move out animation. So all of that is working fine. In fact, if I want to change this one to a fade now, say that I want to do a 4 on my way out, I can change it. So I have a movement in, and then the moving out. So that's all working great. The other thing that I want to show you how to do is how to clean this up, because there's no spacing between any of these properties, so it's really hard to give this to somebody that, you know, it's going to be a designer. So let's clean it up so that it looks nicer. So I'm going to go into my window editor, and I'm going to add a couple more things. So we have window settings. I also want to do one for animations. So we can say window animations. And the other thing that I want to do is I want to add a separator so that we have some spacing. So I'm going to do editor UI layout, separator, and I'm going to do the same thing on this one. I'm also going to do one above it, but the one above it, it's going to be a space. So we can add a little bit more space in there. We can do the same thing here. And we can do one on the out animation type. And we actually can do a separator. And at the end, we'll do another separator. Perfect. Let's go back into Unity, and let's make sure that everything it's looking at, and it looks like everything is looking great. That looks really clean. And let me make sure. So now we have window settings, and then some of those window settings in that area. We have our window animations, and looks like everything is clean. The other thing that I want to do too is add maybe the titles as bold. So let's go back into Visual Studio Code, and some of my titles like label fill. So I'm going to use editor styles to do that, and then we'll do bold label to set it as a bold style. We'll do the same thing with window animations, and also the same thing with window Unity events. Perfect. Let's go back into Unity, and we can see that everything in there that is a title has bold on it. Perfect. So let me just make sure everything looks as we want it. I'm just gonna put this scene in 3D because it looks cool. Let's see play. I'm gonna bring it in and we can focus on that area, and we're hiding it. So if we wanted to make it much faster, we can do 0.1 there, and we can see that it's hiding a lot faster, and we see the fading. So there's a lot of other things that we could do. We could add color transitions, we could add curves, we could add a lot of different animation types, but I'm gonna basically finish it up here. And if you guys have any questions about anything that I mentioned, let me know through the comments, but just keep in mind that I'm also going to be committing this code and pushing it to GitHub so that you can clone it and look at it in your own time. And don't forget to subscribe and share this video. Thank you guys.